Hello everyone, this is Mike from Dimensional Walking. And today's video is going to be called Spirits, Poltergeists, Alien Entities, and Our Pets, Sensitivity, and the Movie. So hopefully that title gets you really interested. I'm going to talk about some general things about pet sensitivity, and then we're going to talk about something that's just happened to a couple of our pets in our family that I want to relate to you that really just happened the last few days. Anyway, so here we go. You know, there's always been talk about how sensitivity in your pets, you should be paying attention to it. Okay? Now, some of the most famous conversation like that, excuse me, is people that live, let's say, in California that have dogs and cats, and you know, several days before a big earthquake happens, you know, the pets are acting very strange, etc. Excuse me. And so, you know, people, pet owners, notice that type of thing, and even birds, actually, even birds. So anyway, so that's kind of that goes with the flow. You know, Native Americans, shaman, they will get up in the morning and they'll check their personal pets and maybe some look out and look at the wildness, the wilderness, and maybe see some animals out there and check how they're doing, just to see what's going on, because animals are ahead of humans as far as sensitivity goes to paranormal type things or even natural disasters, etc. So that's really important. If you have pets, keep an eye on them. And if they're really gonna out of the ordinary start doing things, yes, they could have an illness. I agree, but at the same time, they just could be sensitive to something in their environment that you may want to know about. So, anyways, I'm going to give you a couple stories. The first one's Rainbow. Rainbow had a wonderful dog named Thunder, and her husband was a shaman. His name was Thunderbolt. And so sometimes they lived in teepees and they lived in gypsy wagons as they traveled around. They also did herding cattle, driving cattle across the country. So they had a pretty amazing 10 years together, or more. Actually, I think they were together more. But you know, that's what they did, most of that cattle activity, and they were out in the wilderness, etc. So one night actually, Rainbow had to go out and go to the bathroom, and of course they didn't really have a bathroom, so you had to kind of do your thing out in the woods. So anyway, so the dogs were a little bit. They had a couple dogs. One was Thunder, and the other one I don't remember the name of it. Excuse me. And so anyways, so the Thunderbolt, who is Kelly's husband, I'm sorry, who is Rainbow's husband. Told her she should take the dogs with her. For some reason, they were acting a little strange, and he sensed that. And so, anyways, so she took the two dogs with her to go to the bathroom. And so the dogs were really strange because what happened was they were staying right next to her, which is very unusual. Normally, they would kind of go off and check things out at a distance, just like dogs normally do. They're curious. They want to smell around. But this time they were right next to her, and she thought that was quite odd. So as she was finishing up her bathroom business, she heard a little something in the woods, and it kind of got her attention a little bit. But even before that, the dogs were looking in that direction, and they had sensed something there. So she finished up what she was doing, and she was on her way back home. I think she heard kind of a growl or something, and the dogs had nailed whatever this was. They were looking in that direction. They were really kind of protecting her, etc. And they were kind of watching in this one direction, and their heads were moving back and forth like this whatever it was. And Rainbow called it mysterious creature or mysterious animal, because she really never did see it. It was almost like it was invisible to her, anyways. But it seems like to her dogs, they could see it, and they were really concerned about it. So Rainbow, got her pace going, and she was, I guess, kind of running or walking at a very swift pace, and she got back to the camp, and she told her husband about it, and he said, well, you need to pay more attention. Obviously, the dogs knew there was something out there, and they were probably watching it, etc. And even to this day, Rambo admits that the dogs could have saved her because whatever it was out there was pretty serious. Anyway, so that's kind of watching your pets. That's just an example. Keep an eye on your pets, what they're doing if you're hiking or whatever else, because they're probably going to sense something before you do. And maybe you won't even ever sense it, and only they will sense it. Okay. So then there's another story I always tell. It was of my friend, and I've written about Kiwani. Kiwani is kind of, I consider him a Sasquatch guru. And so what Kiwani also does is he dowses for vortexes. And sometimes he would go out in the woods, he would douse, and he'd find a vortex area. And then he would just kind of, sit close to the edge of the vortex and just kind of see if he can observe any kind of activity. Because vortexes, entities come and go through vortexes, okay? Now, I know that's a whole another story we could go into sometimes, but anyways, they do. Anyways, he would sit there, and many of the times he told me that his dog, a Comanche, which is a wonderful dog, and he was hypersensitive to things like paranormal things. They would both sit together, and he would be constantly watching, almost like a tennis match. He'd be constantly watching stuff coming and going through that vortex area or portal. And so he said that happened all the time. Sometimes he would see something eventually, but sometimes he'd just go there and just watch his dog because his dog was actually seeing things coming and going. So that's another interesting thing, vortex watching. Okay, if you're into that at all. So anyways. So I'm gonna talk about one more thing, and this will be a short video, okay? But this is what precipitated this video, okay? I wasn't gonna do this video. Originally, I had a couple other things I was gonna do, but I want to do this one about what happened the last few days. Okay, so I have 3 daughters, and 2 of them live close by, and anyways, what happened was one of the daughters was watching a movie. Her and her husband were watching a movie the other night. And the movie was called Everything, Everywhere, and All at Once. Okay, I'm pretty sure I got the name of the movie correct. Okay, so they were sitting there watching the movie, and it's a pretty interesting movie. I think it's been nominated for a bunch of Academy Awards. So it's probably very good. And they were watching it. And I think about 20 minutes or so into it, and maybe it was a little longer. Suddenly, the dog had disappeared. Now, I don't mean it vanished. It disappeared from the room, which normally the dog would just sit quietly and just sleep or whatever. Wouldn't even pay attention to what was on the television or what they were watching. A video. So, anyways, all of a sudden, this dog. And they live in a kind of a small manufactured home. This video had gone through about 20 minutes, she said, and all of a sudden the dog is like gone. And they thought that was quite odd. That never really happens. The dog will sit through the end of whatever they're watching and do its thing. And all of a sudden somebody, I think one of them said, "Oh, where's the dog?" And the other one said, "Oh, well, I don't know. I think I saw it walking over this way." And again, it's not a big place, and they all of a sudden the dog was as far away from them as possible, was in the corner, was panting and shaking and really upset about something. And at that point, they didn't know what was going on. It was in this strange, funky state, and they couldn't really do anything to calm it down at all. So they continued watching the movie, and then my daughter's partner, he said, is there something maybe in this movie or something that's bothering us? So they turned it off, and almost instantly the dog seemed to get slightly better. Not a lot. It was still panting and doing its thing, etc. They didn't turn the movie back on again. I think they ended up watching half of it, maybe at the whole total when it was all said and done. And I just turned it off. And the dog seemed to get a little better as time went on. And the next day, the dog was fine. Didn't really give it a whole lot more thought than that, okay? And they probably shouldn't have. Maybe there was something else going on the dog was upset about, just happened to be part of this movie during this movie time. So, okay, so all fine and dandy. The next day, like I told you, the dog is fine. So everybody knows the dog is fine. So the next night, my other daughter and her husband have a dog, and they decided, they heard about the movie, and they thought, well, let's watch this movie. So here we go again. They're in the living room, and they're watching this movie, and their dog is there. And in about 20 minutes or maybe a little longer, right around that point, the dog disappears. This dog disappears. And so they didn't think a whole lot again about it. In fact, my daughter didn't really even notice it. I think her husband noticed the dog was gone. Again, that was a strange thing because the dog normally would just lay there and just, sleep or look around or whatever. It wasn't a big deal. And here the dog was in the corner, panting, shaking, just like it's something really bad had happened, okay? And they thought, well, maybe it just has to go outside. Well, they opened the outside door for it to go outside, and it wouldn't go outside. It just wanted to sit, and actually they have like a mud room, so it would just sit in the mud room and just sit there and shake. And they didn't, again, that's this point they didn't know, they didn't comprehend yet. But then they got back, and they were still watching the movie, and the dog is in the mud room, right? And then I think one of them just said, hey, isn't that what so-and-so, my daughter, my other daughter was talking about, because we communicate and said that this happened the day before, and they said, wow, yeah, that's right, blah blah blah. So they turned it off. The dog is still shaking and pretty upset. Wouldn't come out of the mudroom at all, which is really highly unusual. So, anyways, the dog is better today. Okay, the dog is definitely better. They didn't finish the movie. So I don't know what's going on here. It could have been total coincidence. Total. Although I'm quite suspicious it wasn't. Okay? Something those dogs picked up. Either some kind of a vibe, something coming off that movie, whatever it was, they didn't like it. Okay? So again, I'm not going to say for sure. It could have been a wild, wild coincidence. But anyways, that is the reason I mainly did the video. I just wanted to see if there was anybody else out there that had this similar experience with a movie, that movie, with their animals. Would love to know. You can comment here, of course. You can send me a private email at dimensionalwalking@gmail.com. That's about it. And you can share any of your other, I'm sure almost everybody has these strange things that dogs seem to be staring at something in their house, or cats acting really strange, or even a bird. So if you have any of those type of experience, I'd love to hear about them too. I know people love those things, and I love to share them with you, or share them with them. So if you want to share those type of things, please. But if it had to do specifically with this movie, and that's the movie Everything, Everywhere, and All at Once, I really like to hear about that. That would be pretty incredible. But maybe these are, again, it could be just coincidental. I don't know. It seems strange to me. But anyways, that's it. So anyways, thanks a lot. Please subscribe. We need your subscriptions. And that's about it. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.